Hi, and welcome to our video on plot and plot events. This video was designed by Mr. Patrick McGee for Our Lady of Good Counsel School in 2012. Okay, a quick review from our last lesson. First, we have plot. Plot is going to be the series of events that make up a story. Then, conflict. Conflict was the problem that the main character faces in the story. Next, we have a setting, which is going to be the where and when a story takes place. And finally, characters, who are the people that perform all the actions of a story. Okay, let's get deeper into plot, specifically conflict, which we remember is the problem of the story. Without a conflict, the character doesn't go anywhere and doesn't change. It sounds like a pretty boring story to me. In order to talk about conflict, we should probably look at it from the character's perspective. So we need a character. There he is, Mr. Green. Now, Mr. Green might face several different types of conflict in one story. One type of conflict is external conflict, which is a problem the character faces from outside him or her. There are 4 types of external conflict, the first being man versus man.
Hey!
The second is man versus nature. The third is man versus technology. The final one is man versus society. Mr. Green, I don't need you for any more of this right now, but I'll see you later. The second type of conflict is internal conflict, which is a problem the character faces from inside his or her mind. The first type of internal conflict is man versus fate, where a character tries to outrun their own destiny. A great example of this can be found in the movie Batman.
I just want to be me, but I must face my destiny.
The last type of internal conflict is man versus self. Maybe a character wants to succeed, but then unconsciously keeps choosing paths that lead to his or her failure. We see it every day. How many times have we procrastinated writing a paper until the very last night? And we need that A in order to pass the class. This is an example of man versus self. Okay, after the conflict is set, the rest of the story becomes a journey the character must go on in order to solve that conflict. The first one is rising action. These are the events of a story that lead to the climax. If we picture the story as a mountain, the rising action would be going up the one side of the mountain. The next part is the climax, the very top of our story mountain. The climax is the most exciting part of the story. Remember, it's an action that the character does that leads to the resolution. When a character is going down the other side of the mountain, it's called the falling action. The falling action are the events after the climax that lead to the resolution. So let's see our character go down the other side of Story Mountain. The resolution is the solution to the conflict. Remember, the solution to the conflict, the resolution, is internal to the character. It usually is an attitude change, like going from Mr. Green to Happy Mr. Red. Thanks, Mr. Red. I'll see you around. The next and last thing I want to look at is a way to keep all of these characters, settings, conflicts, plots, climaxes, and resolutions in order in your mind while you're reading the story. It's called a story map, and it looks like this. You have characters, setting, conflict, plot, climax, and finally, resolution. In the characters spot, you put the main characters and the supporting characters that push the story along. In setting, remember to write down the where and when of the story. In conflict, you want to write down the problem the character faces. You also might want to jot down if it's external or internal. Plot events is where you keep track of all the actions that lead to the climax. Remember, climax is going to be the most exciting part of the story. And finally, you want to write down the resolution, or how the character has changed through the story. Okay, now it's your time to be a writer. I want you to create a new story map in class because we're going to have the beginnings of a short story that you will write. Focus on the plot events. What do you want to happen in your story? The character details and the setting details will come later. Make sure the story is interesting to you because you are going to write something that you would want to read. Why write a dull story, right? If you have any questions, you can always email me at patrick_mcgee11@yahoo.com, or you can get to me through our wikispace at grade6mcgee.wikispaces.com. Thank you, have a great night, and remember, always keep working.